how does a New York Times bestseller, top TED speaker give feedback? Well, all credit for the concepts and the inspiration in this article go to the infamous Brené Brown, who specializes in organizational cohesion sociology. And she has created the fantastic engaged feedback checklist, which we've linked to in the notes here and in this article, so you can see exactly what those questions are. And this comes from her book, Daring Leadership. Now, I'm just here to repeat that message because it's such a powerful one, especially at this time of year when we ought to be thinking about how we create that feedback culture. You see, it's that festive feedback season. In bigger organizations right now, it'd be that time of the annual performance review. And whilst we might have left that corporate culture behind, what's still super important for us is that we continue to grow, especially as startup leaders, where we are trying to build teams and organizations that are going to leave a legacy and create a real change in the world. So we may have unplugged ourselves from this corporate world and machination, but we still need to continue with some of those practices and hopefully do them with a little bit more inspiration and agility than we might have done them before. And so this is a great opportunity, no matter how big your team now, no matter how early you are, and in fact, the earlier the better, to start to build that feedback culture into whatever startup you're in. You see, I believe that as a founder, you're trying to make the world a better place. And the best way to do that is to build a better organization. Better organizations need better teams, and the best way to build a better team, now that might come across as some neat alliteration there, but what we really mean by this is personal growth, personal development, and crucially, it all starts with awareness. And the best way to gain that awareness is to seek feedback from those people we work most closely with. But let's go back a step, because if what we're trying to do here is make the world a better place and build a great company as a way to do that, then that company needs to be something that endures with this belief, this vision, this mission. But let's go back one step. We're trying to build amazing companies, and that requires us to build those pillars of the organization, those beliefs, that shared vision that's going to endure from one day to the next. You see, those companies are not just this perpetual collection of kind of team days or hackathons. We need to build something that's bigger than us. And so everything that we do, those behaviors that we exhibit, like asking for feedback, are a result of and a manifestation of our values. And those values and those behaviors that we're demonstrating as a leader and hoping that the rest of the organization catches on is what we know as our culture. And so what I'm really getting at here is that, I'm bringing this back to feedback, this whole feedback exercise is not a one-way street of us asking for feedback. We need to build here a feedback culture. And the way that we build that feedback culture is by demonstrating, by advocating, right? Those behaviors that we want everyone else to adopt. And that, as we come full circle here, requires us to not only seek feedback to become better leaders, but to give that feedback back to our team and build that in as this cultural norm whereby we continually give open, honest, constructive feedback, and we continually seek that same feedback. You see, it's not good enough just for us to pursue our own self-development. As leaders, we need to support the development of those around us. We need to help those people to grow their awareness, and we therefore can do that by giving feedback. Now, feedback can be quite a sensitive and quite a vulnerable conversation, especially when we start saying, where have I fucked up this year? Where could I have done better? And so those conversations, if not handled correctly, can go quite painfully. But the flip side is also true. We are able to provide amazing feedback in a really reaffirming and inspiring way if we can deliver that in the right way. And that is what this engaged feedback checklist from Brené Brown is all about. This is about not only what you're giving in terms of feedback, but also how you're giving it. And crucially, in this feedback checklist, which we've linked below, it's about what state we're in and what state the other person is in as we seek to give that feedback. We need to make sure we're in an environment, we're in a moment, the state of our relationship is such, whereby we can give that feedback and it's going to be taken, it's going to be listened to openly. And what we're going to say is going to be given in a grounded, balanced way. We can't give it in the heat of the moment. And so Brené Brown's feedback checklist goes through just that. Now, Brené Brown, as I'm sure many of you know, is a best-selling author of multiple books. I think she's on about book number 6 now. And she's one of TED's most watched speakers. She's the producer of a Netflix special, but also a number of Spotify's one of their top ranked podcasts, that 2 of their Spotify original podcasts. So in short, she's an absolute authority on humanity, leadership, and organizational improvement. And so as far as I'm concerned, she has one of the best templates there. And so I'm just wanting to share that work with you guys in this video. So how does she believe we should give feedback? And crucially, when should we? Well, here's her checklist. So you know that you're ready to give feedback when I'm ready to sit next to you rather than across from you. Now I'm ready to give feedback when I'm willing to put the problems in front of us rather than between us or me sliding it over to you. I know that I'm ready to give feedback when I'm ready to listen, ask questions, and accept that I may not fully understand the issue. I know that I'm ready to give feedback when I'm ready to acknowledge what you do well instead of picking apart your mistakes. I know that I'm ready to give feedback when I recognize your strengths and how you can use these to address your challenges. I know that I'm ready to give feedback when I can hold you accountable without shaming you or blaming you. I know that I'm ready to give feedback when I'm open to owning my part. And I know that I'm ready to give feedback when I can genuinely thank someone for their efforts rather than simply criticize them for their failings. I know that I'm ready to give feedback when I can talk about how resolving these challenges will lead to growth and opportunity. And I know I'm ready to give feedback when I can model the vulnerability and openness I expect to see from you. And this final one, which is particularly important, but also particularly tactful, I think, is that know that I'm ready to give feedback when I'm aware of the power dynamics and the implicit bias and stereotypes that may be present. Now, I'm not just relying on Brené Brown to do all this work for me, but I'm keen to share that message and that checklist with you. So to help climate tech and early stage founders to build that feedback culture and to understand how they can best demonstrate that, advocate that, and lead from that place of curiosity and awareness, I have been putting together my Ignition sessions. Now, these are really, really powerful workshops, but also mini personal development programs for this end of year period. It's not just a one-off event, but more a 4-stage process. It starts with reflection and seeking feedback. Then we move to goal setting. Then we have some work in there, some exercises and some frameworks to help you better focus and build awareness around your productivity for the coming year. And finally, we work on accountability and how you can instill that in your everyday, week, month, and year so we can really help you to push those heights. So we're running this workshop in December and January. If you want to learn more and you want to build a great feedback culture, if you want to seek great feedback and you want to give great feedback, then please come to that session where we'll be guiding entrepreneurs through that work and doing it with a cohort of your fellow ambitious and really high impact entrepreneurs. I have plowed a huge amount into this program. I can't wait to see you there. And if it's anything like last year, the founders will be raving about it. So click the link below if you want to find out more, if you want to sign up, and any questions, just send me a message saying Ignition and I will get straight back to you. I look forward to seeing you there.